let's say that you're going to boot these families off the parish property. And it really is because Catholic Mutual doesn't want them there, the insurance company. I mean, I think you could say at that point, like, we're so sad not to be able to work out an insurance solution for this group of families, but that's the reality of insurance. What are you going to do? If, by contrast, you think that these homeschooling families are like a hotbed of sedevacantism and anti-Francis and liturgically rigorous and all those things, if that's what you think, it seems to me that as the diocesan bishop, you owe them, like in charity and concern for their souls, a warning that they might be in the proximate occasion of a delict. You owe them a warning that says, you have a moral duty, it seems to me, to say, like, hey, we think your theological stuff is off kilter. Or if there's a problem between like the pastor and the homeschooling communities, or some homeschooling communities, regarding compliance with diocesan particular law, I think you have a moral duty to tell them, hey, it's incumbent on you as a moral duty to be observant of diocesan particular law. And if you don't do that, if you just sort of say something, if the good reason for this, or the reason for this, whatever it is, the rationale for this hasn't been communicated to the families whom this affects, whatever the action is seems to me to be entirely unlikely to have its intended effect. In other words, if you think this is a corrective of something, it cannot achieve that corrective that corrective intention if you do not correlate it to the correction which is needed.
You are making an assumption that the concern of the policy is to affect a change in behavior or belief or atmosphere amongst,
or to curtail some association which is perceived problematic or something.
What if your intention and goal here is simply to expel them? Say, we don't want you here. We want you to go away. We don't care where you go. You can't stay here. If your desire is to other them and to lock them out, then I disagree. I think this could be a very effective way of doing that. And you can be disingenuous about your reasons for doing it to basically sidestep any reasonable pushback on that sort of stance and ambition. That, because as you say, that's an incredibly unpastoral way of approaching families in your parish and or diocese. So I think you're making a couple of assumptions there that aren't necessarily borne out by fact. In fact, I would suggest that if you put out a policy memo that is, as you have pointed out, manifestly at odds with reality, at least in some points of its justification, that is to say, homeschoolers in our parishes are undermining the stability of nearby Catholic schools when there is no observable instability in the Catholic schools of San Diego. I think the most reasonable, it's not necessarily perhaps the most charitable, but the most reasonable interpretation of such an obvious variance between the observable facts and the stated intentions here is that they just want to sidestep a fight.